Hey everybody, welcome to Matter of Opinion. I'm Walls P.
I'm Erica. On today's show, we're going to be talking about sexual consent.
Now, we had a guest on the show who's also a subscriber, Nicole. She was in the Double Standard video. You can check the video in this card right here. She sent me a video that Red Table Talk did on sexual consent debate. So we're going to do the show a little bit different where we kind of react to certain parts of the video. For the most part, the information that was on the video, I agreed with a lot of the talking points that they had. Some areas I kind of disagree. So here we go.
This may shock you, but we took a poll and every woman we asked admitted they have had unwanted sex. Remember that all women don't have the same opinion. There's a difference between being raped, right?
Yes.
Versus being in situations that create these kind of gray areas of non-consensual sex.
Definitely.
And me not necessarily understanding the dynamics. You go further than you want to, and then you feel like it's too late to stop.
Okay. For me, it's like no is no.
Yeah.
It's really, in my mind, before we started even talking about it, I was like, well, what is there to even talk about? Because no means no.
All right, so on that aspect, to you, what do you really consider a gray area, so to speak?
I feel the gray area is how did we get into that situation to begin with? It's we're talking, we're kissing, we're hugging. Okay, does that automatically lead to sex? Of course not. Is there always a, hey, do you want to have sex and here's your answer? Yes or no. So a lot of times you may just roll into a situation and be like, oh, dad, what just happened?
Okay, but even if you say you roll into a situation and that kind of just happened, you still, in a way, consent to it.
That's the problem though, like what is this consent? It's not like there's a checkbox here. Do you want to continue, yes or no? You start touching, you start getting into the moment. Sometimes you get to that point and it's like, how do I just tell this person no at this point? If I'm going, hey, I'm coming over to your house and we're going to just chill and watch TV. In my mind, I'm thinking we about to chill and watch TV. If I told you before I even got to, yo, we ain't having sex today, you thinking, all right, I've already put it out in the air, it's not going to happen.
Okay, but that's a line of communication. So that right there is a whole different ball game. For instance, if a guy calls you up late at night and say come over, what instantly comes to your mind?
My mind is, oh, he wants to have sex. That's
Okay.
my thinking.
Okay.
But most people's thinking is not my thinking.
Here's what I'm getting to. If you have that thought, right, that if a guy hits you up and say, hey, come over, and it's late, you're thinking having sex. But if you turn around and ask a guy to come over at night, what do you think he's supposed to think?
But it's not even...
Not but. What is he supposed to think? You literally just said if he calls you late at night and you say it basically make you think he wants sex. So if you text him late at night and say come over, what is he supposed to think?
What if that's the only time that I had in my schedule? So
What is he supposed to think? This is a double standard right here. What is he supposed to think?
But that's what I'm saying. Everybody don't think like me. Because yes, if you calling me after work hours, I'm thinking sex is on your brain. I'm thinking sex is on my brain. But you have people's work schedule where they don't get off until 9 o'clock at night.
You're making excuses. What is he supposed to think? Is he supposed to think, oh, we're going to chill, or she's hitting me up because we want to smash? Realistically, take all the politics out of it. Realistically, what is he supposed to think?
I don't know. I don't know what he's supposed to think, because in my mind, I might just want you to come over and watch some TV because I want some company.
But if he hits you up, you're thinking he wants to have sex. You don't see the double standard in that?
There has to be open communication, to be honest.
The bottom line is, if you don't communicate it and you just say it, then one is gonna assume that's what it is.
Yes.
It's like...
But you can't assume either.
Okay.
I feel like neither one of us should have assumed.
If you know there's not going to be no sex involved, say no from the jump. Let's go deeper into the video.
Nowhere in your history in regards to sexual intimacy have you felt like you've had a sexual experience that was not necessarily consensual or was, kind of in that gray area?
I have.
Okay.
But it was also with my husband.
Okay.
Your dad, actually. So that's really gray.
That is gray.
That's
But
really gray.
you do hear that a lot. So you're basically saying you had non-consensual sex with my father. Mm-hmm. So that he forced himself upon you.
Yeah, but I mean, it wasn't, yeah.
Well, why do you say it like that? Yeah.
I don't really want to go into more details on camera about that.
All right, I got it.
Yeah.
All right, so that one, I can't really go into detail because we don't know the whole story of the situation. So if she can't go into detail, I really can't say anything. And if she felt like it was forced upon her, then that's how she feel. But until I know like what was the other side of the story, because it seemed like there's a lot of missing key factors.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. That one, hands down, if I don't know, from the beginning, hey, we're married, these are the roles that I want. These are the lines of communication. Hey, you don't know if it was, hey, every time I want to smash, I'm gonna come tap you on your shoulder.
Yeah.
So that situation, no.
Yeah, you could tell there's missing information, and I guess she don't want to get into the details, whatever, because it's more of a private matter. So that's that.
A boy's game is to get you to yes.
Yeah.
So he's gonna be persistent.
Yeah.
He's gonna be like
Manipulative
on it.
at times.
He's a hunter. You gotta know what the game is.
Yeah.
Don't get in the game, or once you in the game, you really gotta know, you gotta know your boundaries.
Exactly.
And you gotta know how far to go. But
Exactly.
me and Will get into conversations about that all the time because he's like, if she goes to the hotel room, she knows what's up. No,
Right.
she doesn't. I promise you, not
Mom,
all the time.
But Mom,
No, I don't agree with that.
I feel 100% differently than that.
All right. So with that, even you see Willow and her mom is like, I don't agree with that, and like, yeah, women know if you're at a bar or whatever, and a guy's buying you drinks, that means he 9 times out of 10 want to take you home and want to smash or whatever.
See, I don't have the same logic on that.
Well, I could be wrong, but the going theme is if a dude buy you a drink or whatever, this, that, and the third, and they buying you drinks, yada yada, and you go home with them, then you know what it is. That's like what the going theme is. Now, with that being said, I understand where just because you're buying me drinks and I go home with you, it doesn't mean that I want to have sex with you. That's fine and dandy. But why would you accept these benefits and perks if you know that's what the stigma is? You're not really down. You get what I'm saying? Like, you're not really interested in this person in that way, so to speak.
See, but that's what comes with age. I feel like if, let's say I'm new to being 21, I'm not hip to the game yet. Maybe I'm like, oh, I'm getting free drinks. Maybe I don't know where they're coming from quite yet. That's why I feel like in those types of instances, females need to be known of the game from jump. A lot of times you don't get known to the game until you've been out there thrown like a fish out of water. So the debate to me shouldn't be the gray area. It's what's comfortable for one is may or may not be comfortable for the next.
You can say one thing at one point and then change your mind. You could not be with it and then you're totally with it. You never know. I say communication is the biggest thing, because once it gets down to that point, saying no, there's no gray area.
Hands off.
Like, you get what I'm saying?
No.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. So I'm like, how do you have a gray area and you say I didn't consent if you went along with it? It doesn't make sense.
Okay, let's hit the next one.
In every situation that I've been uncomfortable in, it is my responsibility to speak
Right.
up.
Yeah.
Right.
And I
Even
think
if I
that's
couldn't.
my confusion of where the couldn't comes from.
I'm telling you, something happened to me a couple months ago,
Yeah.
and I had hung out with this person for a little while. We were kissing outside, and I said, do you want to come in for a minute? And when I ask you to come in my house, that doesn't mean that I'm saying that you can get me naked. That doesn't mean that I'm saying you can do this. I'm saying you can come into my house. And As soon as I got into my house, it was like...
Hands everywhere.
Yes. And all my clothes off, and then I just froze.
Really?
I completely froze, and I even have so much shame about bringing that up because I feel like I'm such this empowered, strong person, but even I couldn't do it. Could not say no. I could not say I'm uncomfortable. I couldn't say this is too fast. I'm not ready for this.
Right.
This is where I think it's on the male side responsibility. There was no awareness from him of my discomfort.
All right. So with that, I gotta understand the situation, because if y'all went in the house and you say clothes went off, what were your actions? Because yes, you could say you're froze in your mind, but if you're still kissing the person back and touching them, and while they're taking your clothes off, you're taking their clothes off, you get what I'm saying? Where is there the line to say he's supposed to understand that I wasn't cool with it?
Well, see, and that's what I was thinking. I'm like, maybe he did all of the initiating. Maybe he unbuttoned her shirt, took off her pants, all of that kind of stuff. So it's like, in the moment, you were going through it, but it was like you watching a movie as it was happening. So something like that, it's like, I can't even consider that gray area, because my thing is, if it got to the point where you didn't feel comfortable when he took your shirt off, you should have said, hey, pump the brakes, I need a minute, or I'm not ready to do this. And I think that's the biggest thing. It's like, people are going, it's a gray area, it's a gray area. It's not a gray area because you're just lacking the communication. And I'm not saying everybody's situation is lacking communication. It's just, you only get gray areas because it's in your mind. If you can't effectively communicate it, then he's never gonna not feel what you're feeling. Because guess what? What you're feeling in your head, if you ain't talking, he don't know. If you still letting him take your clothes off, he thinking, oh, she just want me to take her clothes off.
If you didn't do anything where you was like pushing the person away or something like that, then I really don't see how a person is going to understand that it's kind of unwanted.
In my mind, I don't think it's more of a gray area. It's more of a, did my feelings change midstream? And maybe that's what people are considering the gray area. Because if you said, hey, come in the house, let's watch this TV. Maybe I really went over, sat on the couch, turned this TV on, and we kept kissing. But at any point when it changed from you going, hey, kissing and no clothes, something should have flipped off in your head going, I'm really sitting here naked right now. Am I gonna do this or am I not? Did you do it and now you feel remorse about it? Because that's not a gray area issue. Now, if you feel bad about it because guess what? It went from a gray area to rape, that's something completely different. Because if he just took all your clothes off forcefully and just got it on, that's something different. Now it's not a gray area situation. It's a, this dude really raped me after I invited him in my house. At any point, if you said, hey, stop, I don't feel comfortable with doing this, and you said the word stop and he stopped, that's fine. But if you said stop and he didn't, it's still not a gray area. It's, you said stop. Now, if he's coercing you into it, there's something completely different too, because it's still not gray area. It's still a, all right, let me see what's gonna be next. Like, that's why I
pushing
don't,
buttons pretty much.
Yeah, that's why I said I don't understand this whole gray area sometimes, because that's not a gray area situation.
Yeah. I've had situations where I tried to push the button, and it got to the point where she was like, look, I told you stop. And it's like, all right. Because once it got to that point where it was like, stop, then it was like, all right, bet, stop, whatever. And I had situations where I was being pushed into having sex, and I'm like, no, don't want it. Then eventually it was like, you know what? Let me just give in whatever, because I'm still going to be pressured into it, whatever. So just to make it happen and get it over with, boom, get it over with.
But maybe that's what people are considering the gray area.
But here's the thing. To me, that's not a gray area, because I gave in. I said to myself, you know what? It's going to be easier to give in. So yes, it might not have been wanted, so to speak, but I still went along with it. I still conceded. You know what I'm saying? So,
which is probably why people are considering that now the gray area.
But that's not a gray area, because I chose to. You can't say it's a gray area if you chose to let it happen. Because I hear situations, people be like, well, it was easier just to give in, so I don't hear. Look at the key word. It was easy for you to give in.
It's not like somebody said, hey, I took.
Yeah.
If somebody took, that's something completely different.
Gave in. All right.
Okay, let's get to the next part of the video.
But what is your personal story when it comes to consent?
I was in a relationship for 2 years. I had consensual sex plenty of times during that relationship. I didn't want to be with him anymore. I told him that I was leaving, and he didn't want to hear that. He ripped my clothes off. I felt icky, I felt gross, I felt I was taken advantage of. And it was terrible. And then he went downstairs and ate breakfast, like he didn't do anything. So the gray area in that situation is I had sex with him so many times within these 2 years. I didn't fully understand what had happened, but I know what I felt like after.
All right, so this is the question that I would have asked. Did you have a situation like this? Y'all had sex where your clothes was ripped, and has this happened before? Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, these are different questions that I would have asked. Why would he go through the action of, I guess if you know his mannerism, whatever, why would he do something like that unless it was experienced before? You get what I'm saying?
Well, and that's what I was gonna say. When you're in a relationship with somebody a year, 2 years, 10 years, you already know the likes, the dislikes, what's gonna get you sex, what's not. So if it's something that you felt pressure, guess what? At that point, you should have said, hey, this ain't happening right now.
Because here's the thing. I would have asked, is there a situation where you said you didn't want to be with him no more, so his defense mechanism was ripping your clothes off, whatever, smashing, whatever. So has this happened before where y'all did that as some type of makeup set? You get what I'm saying?
Well,
some type of makeup set.
If that's
so
part of your pattern, then it's like, all right, it's questionable to me. And the reason I'm gonna say it's questionable because if you had this happen before and you didn't feel dirty about it, then I'm looking at you like, okay, we done been here, done that. You said you leaving me, and maybe if I smash her to the point where she want to continue to stay. Like, you don't know per se that whole situation. But I also feel like if you knew when the minute that button tore in your shirt, you wasn't with it, then guess what? That was your out to go to the next room.
I will say, if that wasn't the situation, then okay, I can understand it was a gray area because the fact that you had sexual encounters with the person, you could be blinded with it like, dang, I can't believe this happened, whatever, you know, something like that. At the end of the day, you still technically went along with it, so to speak, but I can see where there's a gray area because you still have that emotional tie to that person, so you just went along with it. You get what I'm saying?
I get that, but I don't even think it's a gray area, to be honest. I feel like the gray area is what people are putting that in. I feel like you were in a situation, you really didn't want to be there to begin with. He's like, oh, we gonna do this. Guess what? When he said we want to do this, you should have said, hey, you may be ready, but I'm not. So there is no gray area with that aspect. It's more of a, dude, I think you just raped me, to be honest.
That's true.
You tore my clothes off.
That's true.
And I wasn't all for it, and I felt dirty and cheap afterwards. Yeah, that wasn't no gray area.
And here's the other question. Did you stick around after? Because if you stuck around after, if it was bad and it was a gray area, so to speak, then you would have been out. So these are details that are not included within it. You get what I'm saying? So, all right, next.
And then I also remember being, younger. I would maybe take a guy too far.
Right.
And they'll be like, oh, let me just put the head in a little bit.
Yeah,
and I'm like, no, I kind of don't want to. No, just a little bit. And then it's full on sex, and I'm just laying there like, I don't want to do this.
Right.
Okay, I'm going to take that one on. So, depending on how young you are and how sexually mature you are, I could see where that may be the gray area. And I'm going to tell you why. How many times you done talk to your friend and be like, girl, listen, I went over there knowing I talked all this junk before I got there. And then I looked at him and was like, this is not what I thought I signed up for. And then it was like, you know what? All right. I kept going. He done hit that spot one or too many times and be like, dag, I'm just there. So now is it the fact of I pressured myself? I played enough games and now I'm stuck in a situation? Or should I have just said, hey, look, this ain't working for me right now. You said all you want to do is this, but guess what? All I said is no. So my no trumps your let me put the head in.
And here's my thing, like, I don't know no situation where a woman say, yeah, he just put the tip in and we as good, we threw our clothes back on. No, the minute it goes in, you're gonna finish.
You all in. You all in.
So that's why I'm like, I don't understand why you like.
It was the gateway.
In my opinion, if you say yes, put the tip in, that means you want to smash. Now, in mid-smashing, if you say no, then okay, you gotta stop. But if you never said no and you went with it, like, how is that a gray area? Because you still conceded to it. I don't see how it's unwanted if you allowed it to happen. That's the main thing I'm getting at. Like, to me, it's crazy. I don't get it.
Next video.
Have you ever had the experience, I'm curious, where it's easier to just let it finish than say stop?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think every woman has been through that.
Yeah.
In that situation.
Yeah.
Do you think that he caught a vibe that you didn't want to do anything?
Maybe, but maybe I mean, in my mind, because I don't want it to happen, I'm thinking, how can you not see that?
But if you want to have sex with someone, right? You're gonna be touching them, rubbing them, kissing them, you're gonna be on top of them, rolling around with them. If that wasn't what you were doing, the man knows that you're not with it. He's just taking advantage of the fact that
He has you in this
feel
position.
bad to say no. And I've been in those situations where I'm like, oh, I took him too far. He got the condom on. Fine.
Right.
You know? And and he knew I didn't want to.
See, for me, I can't agree. Cause it's like, if you're participating in it, you're hugging, kissing, feeling back, whatever, rubbing on me, I'm rubbing on you. How am I supposed to know that you're not with it?
But also think about it. You got a lot of females who aren't rubbing, hugging, touching either, and sex still goes to play.
Yeah.
You got people that just be lazy in bed. They just gonna sit there and lay there. Yeah. So how do you know that me just being not sexually awkward and I'm gonna just be like, all right, let me just lay here real fast, is me not feeling okay if you're not communicating these things? Yep. Because everybody is not gonna be as sexually experienced as the next person. A lot of times you don't know if you got a first time smash who's never, who still got their V card. You don't know if they still a virgin or not when you pick up somebody, compared to somebody where this is the 30th time they've had sex. You don't always know them things. So how do I know that's just not you in bed?
That's true.
You just ain't gonna be moving and shaking and touching and hugging. Maybe I'm like, all right, I'm gonna lay here and you do and I want you to do all of the stuff. Like, you don't know.
Yeah. So I like I said, at the end of the day, like how she said, well, he got the condom on, I might as well. That's consent. If you're saying I might as well, that's not great. That's consent.
Great. You consented. The minute you said I might as well, in your mind, you said
consent.
Yes. Until you say no, it is a yes.
I didn't hear consent until I was well into my adult years. I've been taught more that a woman will set me up, try to trap me, be careful, a woman will lie, try to get my money. As men, we're taught a woman's body is ours for the taking, especially if we already had sex with her. It's like, she belongs to us, she's ours, we can do whatever now, right? It's like an indictment against our masculinity, our manhood, if we're denied sex.
Yeah.
Once you had that as a starting point, I mean, it's no telling how messy it can get for you.
Okay, with that, I definitely don't agree. Because with guys, when we're brought up, we're raised that a woman's body is the temple, it's sacred, all of that stuff. Why do you think when there's a talk about, for the double standard as far as guys can go out and sleep with however many women, whatever, but women aren't supposed to do that? What's always the answer that the guy has why women shouldn't do that? Your body is sacred, it's temple, you should value yourself. So we're not looking at them as, yeah, once you smash, that's mine, like I can do whatever I want. No, because men look at women's body as it's sacred. Now we're talking about men who, do right stuff like that. If you're talking just a regular hood dude, whatever, that's just about smash and pass or whatever, yeah, then you're gonna look at him as a piece of meat, whatever. Same thing with women who just look at using dudes for money, whatever. You're just looking at a piece of meat or whatever. We're talking about people who actually are trying to do right. You look at a woman's body as being sacred and you value that woman. So you don't look at it as, oh, just because I smash, I'm privileged to do whatever. So that I definitely cannot agree with.
With his thought, to me, I don't think it's more of a gray area for him. I feel like it was more of a, this is how I was brought up.
Yeah.
He's an ex-football player. That means he knew early on he was going to try to get into the NFL. So I felt like whoever was teaching him early on was more of a, hey, you make sure you stay away from them skanks. You already know. You get a skank, she coming for your money. She coming to take you down. So I'm like, those types of logics for somebody will always alter how they're going to feel towards the opposite sex, how they're going to look at consent. So I feel like for me, his situation's a little different. You just not just that regular old Joe Smo down the street, like, all right, let me find me a good woman. No. Your problem was you had to figure out how to weed out the ratchets before you got to that particular person, because you knew you weren't the average. You were the exception. You were the, hey, I'm a professional ball player and I know any given Sunday, if I am in a hotel bar, I could pick up any one of these chicks. That might not have been what she was looking for. So you might get gray areas because people are like, yo, they trying to trap you, bro. Not, these are the people that you're supposed to be around.
Definitely. I could agree with that. But for me, I say the biggest thing, man, is to communicate as far as what you're okay with and what you're not okay with. And there won't be no gray area issues. Whatever's in your mind, convey it verbally, because nobody's a mind reader. And sometimes you can have a lapse of judgment when it comes to body language, because like I said, your mind can be doing this but your body's on autopilot. So it's best to try and communicate as much as possible what you're okay with and what you're not okay with. Do that and there'll be no gray area.
It really won't. Like you said, communicate. It's maybe you need to set boundaries early on. If you find that, hey, this is the person that I potentially want to have sex with, maybe they need to know, hey, when you don't see me actively participating, then maybe you need to slow it down. Because that's the only way you'll start alleviating gray areas. A guy is not gonna be like, oh, are you sure you're okay? Are you sure you're sure? Because that's not part of consent.
Yeah.
It's you, okay, we started, okay. If you don't want to finish, you need to actively communicate those things.
Yep.
Because what you're thinking and what he's doing, y'all may be doing things together, but y'all thinking two different exit points at that point.
And if you gonna get drinks from a dude, let him know straight up. Just because you buying me this drink don't mean you ain't getting none.
Don't leave with him. You better go back home with the persons you came out with. You went out with your girls, that means, all right, girls, we all leaving together.
Yep.
We ain't separated.
Yep.
I don't know what to tell you. We came in this car together. You better have that pack before you leave the house. Because the minute you go, all right, I'm going to go leave with dude right here that was buying me drinks all night. I'm not saying it's going to lead to sex, but you need to have them kind of communications when you walk out.
And I guarantee your girlfriends is like, oh, she about to get it on. Oh, you know. But that's going to do it for our show. And hopefully you guys, take some of this stuff and process it and help you guys in your private life, so you don't run into no gray areas. And we'll catch you guys on the next one.
Peace.
Time for me to hold it down. Time for me to break it down. Y'all cats don't wanna see me. Y'all better mind your P's and Q's.
Welcome to Matter of Opinion. This is Erica taking over Wally's show. Ha ha.
That's gonna be a snap, like a whatchamacallit, snap intro.
Back to Welcome of Opinion. Welcome to Matter of Opinion.
We're not starting there.
Did you not see my hand movements and everything?
No.
That joke was supposed to be funny.